Hi everyone, I want to share with you the latest junk journal that I've worked on, and it is a Gypsy themed vintage junk journal. And if you've watched any of my recent junk journal tutorial videos, you've probably seen this cover. I actually did a tutorial on how to make this cover, so in case you haven't seen it, I'll just talk to you a little bit about the elements on the cover. So I used a real book for the journal and went ahead and took out all the book pages, gessoed it, painted it, and then on the cover part I used burgundy paint. You can see some copper embossing that's been distressed right here. There are some collage pieces. This is taken from one of my journal kits called the Mystic, and then I used some of this background magazine clipping that I really liked, this kind of fish scale look with the blues and greens. I thought that went really nicely with how bright orange and pink she is with the moons and her headdress. And then I stuck a couple of peacock feathers, as you can see, on the front, and it's bordered all the way around with distressed lace, and I made these out of polymer clay. These are some little Art Nouveau faces, and I painted those copper as well, and then I added patina paint to them from Finnabair to give them a really aged look, and wanted to give them kind of a look of being in an old garden or something like that. And then if you look at the spine, you'll see a fairly large charm, and I don't know how well you can see the face inside, but I cut out another face image from one of my kits and I set it in this really detailed bezel. I put some seed beads around it and some tiny little butterflies and flowers, and then I put resin on top of the face, so that's nice, and you can hear that's very solid, and the color inside is not going to shift at all. It's going to stay that same color. So now as I'm going to open up the book here, so I painted the inside covers with a navy blue paint called Midnight Blue that has a tiny bit of a greenish hue to it, and then this part has some Tim Holtz scrapbook paper that's been edged with ink, and you'll notice the same type of paper on the back inside cover. So I used digital designs from a few different kits from my store. I have a lot of Gypsy themed kits. It's one of my favorite themes to work with, so all of these have either been coffee dyed and or edged with ink, and then on the flip side you'll either find coffee dyed paper, or sometimes I put some other type of vintage looking paper or something on the back to keep it looking old. And then throughout the journal I placed some of Tim Holtz's clippings. He has these little word or phrase stickers. This one says "A Sensitive Soul." I did a lot of edge punching with some of my edge and corner punches, so hopefully you can see that there. It has a pretty lace design. It's been edged with ink. Lots of stamping as well. And this page, I really like how this lace turned out. I wanted to give it kind of a two-toned effect, and I like how the pom-poms on here almost look like little grapes to me, and it sort of fades from a rust into sort of a pinkish purple and into purple. And I placed a long envelope on here that's glued to this page. There's a little piece of moon ephemera on there that you could use for journaling. And this is some cool kind of bohemian looking paper that I had in my stash, and it has some cool gold foiling on it, and I stamped it lightly on the back. So that can tuck into the lace, and then the ephemera and anything else you'd like to stash inside the envelope. There's still plenty of room in the envelope. You could stick some journal pages or a tag. And then a lot of these coffee dyed papers, I used a Fiskars rose punch and then edged them with vintage photo and aged mahogany. So they also have a two-tone brown to burgundy effect. Here's another collage page from one of my kits. This cute old-fashioned envelope that's glued in here, and then I placed, this could be used as a bookmark or a writing space. This is from Alphonse Mucha, the artist that's really well known for his Art Nouveau pieces. There is some scrapbook paper in here. I cannot remember the collection that this one comes from, but I did edge it with some tea dye. Then on this side, more Tim Holtz scrapbook paper, and then I have some more lace that's been stained. Cute little gypsy image, another piece of ephemera. This one has to do with card tricks and magic. Here's another of the Tim Holtz stickers that says Wanderer, and this cool card player, very deeply burgundy and black colored piece of ephemera. And then these little die cuts are actually from Anna Griffin. I had purchased these from hsn.com. She did a set called Bohemian, and you'll see those throughout. Most of these I used with my jelly plate, so they have a really painterly look to them. There's lots of different paints being used there. Here's some more jelly printing that I did on craft paper, so it's nice and heavy duty. And then I did some stenciling with paint on top. And on the flip side here, this is a Tim Holtz die cut that I made into a tuck spot. There's another little piece of moon ephemera in there. More jelly print and stenciling in the background. And then this is another magazine clipping, and it's tucked into this little bookmark that I made look like it was had a patina on it. And then this longer, skinnier piece I just corner punched, and this says 100 years ago. That's one of the Tim Holtz clippings. More jelly printed paper in the background. This patterned paper, I went ahead and took some trimmings from some of the edge punching that I did, and I dyed this in aged mahogany and stuck it on there. This is more jelly printing with a fish scale kind of Art Deco looking stencil on craft paper. This is actually some watercolor paper that had some resist on it, so along with the gold foil that already comes on it, I used some rust-colored watercolors and sort of a aquamarine color that you might see showing up there. And then these little curly cues are from another stencil. This Tim Holtz clipping, it says "One who walks by your side," and I wanted to do some jelly printing on black paper, so I used some lighter color inks with some celestial type stencils. And there's just a little bit of sheet music tucked in there that's been coffee dyed. This is a pretty lace stamp. I believe I got that at Hobby Lobby. And there's the back side of the watercolor paper that's also been stenciled. More jelly print paper. And here's another piece of that Venice lace that has kind of a tricolor effect on top of a jelly print. This is a little die cut that I painted again with the copper and green and turquoise patina. It's got a little gypsy piece of ephemera photograph there. More stamping. And then this little guy is Could also be used as a bookmark or a journaling spot. I believe this is a fortune-telling card. And the back side of that same jelly print with stencil paint. And here's another one of the Bohemia die cuts with an elephant, of course. And then I just love the contrast of this kind of bold fuchsia color against the green of the elephant. It's just a little playing card ephemera. More stamping here. And this is another magazine clipping that I thought was really cool looking and fit in with the theme of the journal. Another pretty gypsy photograph. More scrapbook paper that has been edged with tea dye. And another of my digital collage pieces. Here's another of the cute little elephant die cuts, and then I just tucked this cool kind of moon themed ephemera in there. And this Tim Holtz clipping says, "My heart still drew me there." This says, "The Wizard Fortune Teller." I just thought this would make a neat tuck spot, and I edged it with ink. More stamping on the craft paper. I used a combination of cracked pistachio so that the green would really pop, and a little bit of walnut stain in the background to kind of give it a sort of a distressed effect. And this little sticker says "Found." Another collage piece, and collage piece backing up against it with some corner punching. You can see that. And then this digital paper was printed on the back side of scrapbook paper, so that's why you see this as you flip over. And I want to say this is Primrose Lane, the collection. I'll have to look it up. If you're interested in knowing, please leave me a comment and I will find out for sure. More stamping and tea dyeing. And it's hard to make out here, but this jelly print actually says the star here, and it's styled after a fortune card, like fortune-telling cards. Here's another Bohemia die cut with a little mermaid ephemera. Some room for journaling. And two more of the Bohemia die cuts that have been jelly printed. This, I turned some scrapbook paper, I coffee dyed it and then turned it into a little envelope so you could stick whatever you like in there. And then this is just a little piece of handmade ephemera with some gypsies dancing in the middle. This is by Moonlight. On this page, this is another magazine clipping that I use as a tuck spot, and just a piece of ephemera with a gypsy theme. And then here, just for fun, I tucked this, or I glued this little envelope in here, and then I put this cameo in here that's made out of resin, and I painted it gold and then used some dark brown alcohol ink to get into the crevices and make it look a little bit more aged. Here's another piece of gypsy ephemera. And "You're the Dearest to My Heart," that one says. More sort of distress stamping. Here's another little tuck spot that has some paper trim on it that I put on there. This is another of the Bohemia die cuts. And then I made this little removable piece into an extra tuck spot. This is made out of some Tim Holtz memoranda paper. Another cute little piece of gypsy ephemera. This ephemera is actually glued onto this little envelope, and it just says "Fortune Teller." Some paper trim, lots of tea dyeing, more stamping. And then this one is actually an oversized fortune-telling card with the wands on it, and it says here "Most Becoming Costume." There's some die-cut lanterns here that I put more of the patina on, so they have sort of a rough sandy texture with a mint green color. These two are 2 more sheets from Digital Kits. The back side of this has been covered with scrapbook paper, tea dyed, and then I lightly gave like a watercolor effect stencil with a peacock feather there. This is just more of the Tim Holtz paper. This has Witch Market. For this piece, I put some lace on top of scrapbook paper. You could use this as an extra little spot to journal. Another piece of ephemera and a Bohemia die cut at the bottom here. Here's another little curly Q die cut that I put patina over metallic paper. And here's another of the pieces that I trimmed with extra paper trim in a different color to sort of offset the pink and brown. And then this Fortune Teller Dreamer's Dictionary ephemera is just glued right on there. So that tucks into the little curly Q. This is another page from one of my kits, and this is some scrapbook paper that had a mermaid design, and then I jelly printed over it to give it like a really rough kind of distressed look. More jelly printing. This is a really intricate and long die that I cut some gold paper that was already patterned, and then I put the patina on top. And here's this little fortune-telling cat ephemera. Here's a gypsy wagon. And another edge punched piece with more paper trim. You can see that there. More ephemera. A little more scrapbook paper cut out here to make a tuck spot. And another one of these scrapbook paper envelopes that's been coffee dyed, and a pretty piece of ephemera. More jelly printing. Here's the back side of that mermaid paper that's been jelly printed. And then here you might be able to see the wands a little bit better, or the magic swords that are part of the fortune telling cards. So this has just been kind of roughed up with some metallic paint and more celestial stenciling. And as you can see here, this is a metallic moon die cut. It is a Tim Holtz die with patina on top and one of my collage papers in the background. And I used some scrapbook paper, another die, and then this teeny tiny little almost postage stamped postage stamp size ephemera, and it just says The Silence right here. For some reason that seemed to go along with these 3 women here because they look a little bit spooky. Here's one of the larger Bohemia dies. Really love these dies and how intricate they are. Some more ephemera. And then this die actually has a little window so you can kind of see through it there. More stamping. And this one says Wonders of a Witch. That's one of the Tim Holtz clippings. I did another coffee dyed piece of collage scrapbook paper with a doily piece glued to it. And then this is another die cut with the copper cardstock and patina. And then I thought this Nautilus shell with the map design went really nicely. This is another magazine clipping. And then this background is just a dark scrapbook paper that I stenciled a burgundy paint over with a flower design. And we're coming to the end here. This is the backside of the last of the collage papers for this journal. And then as you can see, here is that same Tim Holtz cardstock that's been edged with ink and then glued in the back so that both the front and the back have matching designs. So anyways, guys, I really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of the Gypsy journal. I'm going to be putting it in my store very soon, so be looking for that link. I will list it below the video, and I hope you're having a really wonderful and crafty day wherever you're at, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.